Alright, go.
Huh?
Go.
Right now?
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to AmityCast, what is this?
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
So stupid.
That was funny.
But I trust that we're recording right now, so welcome. We took a week off, and now we're back. Yeah, it's good. It's good to be back. It's good to talk, discuss, talk about great films. Because I love movies so much. But we're actually going to talk about a movie I don't particularly love, and it makes me hate movies more than I did before.
For real?
Well, no, but overall, film as an art form is beautiful. It can be diverse, creative, make incredible things. There's so many incredible products that we've found from cinema as a whole. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 is not one of those things.
I mean, um, this was much better to watch from the comfort of my home than like actively go out to the theater and like pay to sit down and watch this movie. Um, it's somehow I think it's shorter than the original. I don't know how.
I think it
And
is. It's only 81 minutes. That's not very
which
long.
is ridiculous for how much they try to like talk about.
It was still longer than it should have been. I hated this movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, I expected to get some type of like cruel enjoyment out of it, just because of like, I didn't expect it to be very good, and I can just have fun with this, whatever it's supposed to be. But it kind of subverted those expectations and just being straight up dreadful. Honestly, like that it's just, I really, really did not like this movie. So Matthew, obviously last week we talked about, or well, a couple weeks ago, we talked about the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You had recently seen it for the first time, and now this is the only sequel that you've experienced. So, from that perspective, what did you think of this as like a much later sequel to the original?
um, I didn't like absolutely hate this movie. It was not good at all. But it went by so fast that like it didn't really bother me with how bad it was because at least it ended pretty quickly, and the most enjoyable parts were like the kills, and that's about
100%, yeah.
it. And um, Leatherface made no sense in this movie, and I have a lot of problems with that. And the storyline also made no sense, and they completely waste the main character from the first movie in a dumb, stupid way. And the movie's way too short for like how much it's trying to say. That like just nothing sticks by the time it's over. And while the ending is surprising, it's just kind of whatever, and it literally ends the same way the first movie ended, both with Tesla. It was stupid.
Well,
And
yeah, they took like the ending, like it tried to be like an homage to the original of some sorts with like Leatherface and like doing his little his like whip around with the chainsaw, but like the whole like everything about the pacing of that scene specifically was all rushed. It was so abrupt. And it wasn't like scary. I mean, like it had like a gory kill, like that's cool, but like it was just like all of a sudden, boom, this is happening. Oh, reference to the original over, and then at the end,
yeah,
and then like after the credits, it just showed him walking toward the house, and it was like, oh, it's over. And
yeah,
I hated that.
I don't know if that was
Honestly,
supposed to be like
the
a
movie was like pretty bad, and I really disliked it. But the ending, I thought was just awful. Like what? I was so baffled when the credits started rolling. I was like, what the hell just fucking happened?
yeah
What actually just
the
happened? That
test
was terrible.
screenings that like made this movie sound like the worst thing like ever made. I don't think it was the worst thing ever made, but this was not really good. I mean, I can tell that maybe the filmmakers behind it kind of had some passion for the first movie, but they just really dropped the ball. And I don't know how this compares with like all the other movies, like ranking wise, but um, this was
It's not
not.
the worst.
Yeah,
I would say it's not the worst.
yeah, I doubt it's the worst, but like there's like films like Texas Chainsaw 3D and like The Next Generation, which are some like the like worst reviewed sequels in like any franchise ever, I think. So
Yeah, but
And
I honestly, I would probably put it right above those two, and then all the others would be above it because this was dreadful. I almost like, seriously, there wasn't any element of the film that I actually enjoyed. There was one thing, the scene when he goes onto the bus and he goes on a rampage, that was very entertaining, and I thought that they executed that pretty well outside of the stupid cringe dialogue. The dialogue was terrible all film. That moment when Leatherface was just going crazy, that was pretty cool. It got my attention. It was enjoyable. The rest of the film was awful. None of it worked.
yeah, I mean, none of the characters I liked. I did like he was like the Texan they introduced at the beginning. That was like the contractor. He was like the only character that like made any sense, and I kind of liked him, but then he just kind of like died. So I was like, oh okay. Um,
Yeah, he was just fine, but like he was like angry about like the old woman or whatever, so he like took their keys
yeah, I feel
and
like
then he
it's like
walked away.
against the law because they weren't like running away. That girl was like taking her sister away from like a potential bad thing, and like what?
And then
They have
he
that
just
whole
took their
dumb
keys
stupid
to
bit
like
where it's
enact
like, did you
revenge
have
or some
sex with
shit.
that
I don't
guy?
fucking know.
Did you have sex with that guy? Even though like they're both fully clothed and like she literally was in the bathroom. Uh,
That made no sense. She's and like the main characters, the guy Dante and then Melody, whatever the name of the girl were. They were both they weren't utilized in a way that like I would want protagonists to be at all. And like Melody, like the performance was pretty flat, and also like the character in general was just so frustrating and just not enjoyable. Characters are like one of the most important parts of films to me, and like completely dropped the ball on that. Like
yeah,
literally
and
awful. Even if there could have been good character arcs here, the film is so short. There was no chance that they had to like extend any of it and actually develop any of that.
yeah, it seems like they just like intentionally like made this movie short. Like just shoot themselves in the foot and just wanted to make a dumb fucking slasher movie. Which is not a good idea for a sequel to like an actual classic of the genre, but that's my own opinion on that. And I did actually, one thing I really liked was the beginning with like the true crime documentary of the original with like the narrator from the first movie. That was actually kind of cool. And it was like the only thing that seemed like an actual carryover from the first movie that made like logical sense. And that was it.
Yeah, how old is Leatherface, by the way? What were they planning with all that?
I'm assuming, I think they said he's like in his 60s or 70s in this movie.
Yeah, because he would have to be because it's almost 50 years after the original. Like,
And I guess I have a lot of problems with like the continuity between the original and this one because it doesn't make any sense. Because what happened to the family? What
yeah,
happened?
why is he just randomly in this orphanage? Like,
Yeah, why is
what?
he in this orphanage? And like, why does he listen to this woman? Why? This like old woman, I think, is like the worst person in this movie because she like just lets this guy, who literally is a cannibal murderer. Like, I get to like, he was like raised that way, but still, why'd you just let him live in an orphanage full of children? What's wrong with you? And not to mention the Leatherface mask looks fucking stupid. I hate it.
Yeah, it was really bad. The scene where he like ripped like where he like tore off the face and like put it on, like, I mean, it was decent. Like, it was an okay like horror movie type scene.
Yeah, there's a few
Well, then
tense
it
scenes, I guess,
didn't
that
look
weren't
good.
like bad. Um, but yeah, and that one scene where he like destroys the contractor guy's head with that hammer was kind of gnarly. Again, some of the like kills and like effects were like probably the best parts about this movie, which isn't like the only thing I want in like a horror movie, especially like a big franchise. So, and it doesn't the backstory of Leatherface in this movie makes no sense because they make him like smart in this one, but like he never was that smart in that first movie. I get it's been 50 years, but he's almost like thinking ahead. And he doesn't like seem like the same character, and I think that's kind of what all the sequels have kind of done, because there isn't really much you can do with Leatherface if you don't have the family there. Which I don't get why they don't ever acknowledge the family or like where they went or like explain what happened to them. Did they all just die? Like they say like the next year, like what happened? Why is he at this orphanage? Why does he stay there for 50 years? Like what happened here? How could Sally not find him for 50 years if he stayed like in the same city? I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't really make any sense. Also, like when it was like, oh, she became a ranger, I bet she looked for him for a long time. It doesn't make sense that she would never find him. But also, like her being on like the like vengeance like path,
It doesn't make
it just
sense. Like
it didn't make any sense at all.
Laurie Strode made sense. Uh, Even Laurie Strode, I had a hard time thinking like, really after 40 years you're still like obsessed with this stuff. But I guess it made more sense because it, like that Michael Myers was like randomly attacked her and for no reason. So her concept being afraid that he'll get out again and come after her at least made sense. This is like, I get that like she like Leatherface killed like her friends and like her brother and stuff, but like she just seems so happy and like traumatized in the first movie that I think she was just happy to get away. So it doesn't make sense that she would like willingly just go back. It just seemed really out of character. Not to mention, there was no reason to bring her character back if you weren't going to bring them like the actress back, because all the emotional weight means nothing because it's just two different people playing the same characters. It doesn't mean the same. Like if you recast Jamie Lee Curtis in the new Halloween movies, it wouldn't like hit as much because it's not the same person. It's completely different, and it seems so stupid. If the actress who played this character is dead, why would you bring them back for like a legacy sequel? It just doesn't make sense. It's like recasting Sydney in the new Scream. It doesn't work. So I don't know why they decided that. Also, she was about so shoehorned in like last minute when you could have like had like a decently engaging story with her somewhat near the forefront, but she's just kind of there at the end.
Yeah, they could have, but that's another thing they dropped the ball with, and like it was so like shoved in, and it like wasn't engaging at all. Like if you wanted to be like a revenge type of story arc, where like it's like the events of the original haunted her for all these years, and like we see that, and then that carries over into this film, and they played into it, it would have been cool. But they just had a couple scenes where it shows her like looking around, and she's like, "Oh, this is a clue." Then like they get into the back of her car, it's like a police type car where they're locked in, and then she's like, "Oh, I have to go get this guy." Bye. It's like, what? This doesn't make any sense. And then also, like, she gets literally completely chainsawed to absolute death. Like, she would have died 3 times. Then she's like, "No, I'm fine. I'm gonna shoot him." And she's like, "Oh, here's a gun. He'll keep chasing you," even though she was the one chasing him.
Yeah, like I liked the scene, I guess, when like she first saw him again, and like she just kind of realized like he literally doesn't. She doesn't mean anything to him, and the scene where she just like went crazy, then just got like murdered in like 3 seconds was just like, it was not only stupid, it just felt like really disrespectful because it's just like you brought back this character just for her to die like 5 minutes after she meets like actually becomes involved in the plot again, and then at the end like the main sister girl that survived the school shooting, which the school shooting shit. It was at least like it made sense for the anti-gun message, but like it felt so shoehorned in and like had absolutely no meaning in the plot.
It was so forced. It like completely just fell flat. It was
Yeah,
so
and
pointless.
like
Oh
in
my
the
god.
beginning they keep mentioning like gentrification of like the Texas town, but like the town is empty and there's nobody there. Why do they care that much if people like renovate it? I don't get it. If like there's people living
Like
there,
literally, what difference would it make?
if the people were like living there, that makes sense. But like these people are just like at random gas stations, like 50 miles away. There's like fucking millennials, and it's like the town's empty. There's nothing there. Who cares? It doesn't make sense why they would buy it, and like all these like Zoomers would just be like fine with like moving like 50 miles or like 100 miles and just like absolute nothingness, desert. Just live in this tiny fucking town that has nothing in it. I don't know why anybody would want to live there. Even like they have a line where it's like, oh, we got to renovate stuff, and like, no, they like it like old. They like the old like look, and I was like, what do you mean? Like all the buildings are rotting and there's nothing in them. Yes, you need to renovate. There's just nothing here. Also, all the characters are fucking stupid. Like that bus driver was so retarded.
My
Just
God,
like
I hated that guy. It was
willingly
so
drug everybody's
frustrating.
death, and then just like heard a chainsaw like sawing at his buzz. He's like, "Let me go check. Um, I'll be right back." And that dumb black girl like wasn't telling people anything about what was
She
going
was like, just
on.
shut the door, shut the door. Why? Shut the door, shut the door. Do not open it.
Just
Shut the door,
why are you
shut
so
the door.
afraid to tell them? Just tell them there's like a murderer outside. There was that cool effect though with the guy's face. That was kind of a nice effect. Um, like somebody kind of summed it up well. I remember on a review. It's like there's so many like times in this movie where like you kind of go like, oh yeah, that's not like a bad idea. This is kind of like this is a little bit more promising. This isn't like terrible. But then there's like every single time they do that, they just like do something that's just like, oh my god, this is fucking terrible. I hate it. It's so frustrating because like I feel like they kind of had something here that could have been good, but they just like really forced it and like just didn't have like a good enough script, and they just like didn't really try. So, and I don't know
Yeah, I,
why.
don't know. I think it was kind of doomed from the start.
Yeah, because they fired the director like the first week of shooting and like replaced them, and like had terrible test screenings that moved it to Netflix. Like this movie just kind of seemed doomed. So I don't think anybody behind this movie is really that excited about it coming out. I think
The
everybody just kind of
biggest
wants to move on from it.
biggest problem is that it was unnecessary. You don't need a sequel to the original film. Like there's truly no point in making this, and then it was made and executed poorly in literally every conceivable way. Like I just it's just so baffling to me, and I hate it. I hate it. I thought there's a lot worse out there. I really do think that, because there were some elements to this film that I can like somewhat enjoy, and I can be like, okay, I mean that was fine. But like overall, the overall package is just so stupid. It's so like it's embarrassing, really. Like it's just completely. I don't even know. I'm trying to find the right word to describe it. Like it's just so unlikable. Like between the characters, the visuals, the dialogue, just acting in general.
It's such an unnatural movie.
Yeah, and like literally, like nothing happened. Like they showed up, a woman died, Leatherface gets angry. Like things were just happening, and the structure was so like loose and like
They just
incoherent.
make Leatherface basically Jason in this movie, who's just like killing people because of his dead mom, and Leatherface is not that. So they just seem like they were just trying to make Leatherface as like completely different like slashers, or just like make it more appealing. Because you know, like
Yeah,
Michael and
they completely
Jason.
like that character was just completely bastardized, just like Sally's character. Like it's just so unnatural. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and like I watched this and like I didn't like hate myself watching it. Like it was, I can watch this movie just because I'm a fan of like slasher films, but like I would never watch this movie. This is just it's watchable, I guess, but it's just whatever. And this like doesn't make me feel anything like I did in the first movie that made me like legitimately like shaken to like my absolute core. This one like didn't do that at all. It might have had like a few tense sequences or like some kills that were like, ooh, that's kind of unsettling, but like it was nothing scary and nothing that like really like messed with my head, because he didn't have the family, he didn't have any, there was no cannibalism in this movie at all.
There was no fun or interesting, like terrifying
It was
elements
just a
really at
slasher
all.
movie. That's all it was.
Mm.
And the directors talked about the ideas for a sequel, which I have no idea what you would do with like a continuation of this story that would make any sense, and it probably will never
Literally,
happen.
just no. There's just literally no point. I only watched this film really because I've seen all the other Texas Chainsaw films, so I might as well. But I honestly never want to watch it again. Like because I just think it completely fails. There's just no point to it.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
tried in
if
a
for
lot
some
of
reason I
ways. It
ever did,
tried
I
to be
wouldn't.
like Halloween 2018 in a lot of ways.
It
With
definitely
just
did. Yeah.
like even the moment when like he like pulls up the skin to put on his mask, it was like trying it like kind of echoed how like Michael found his mask in 2018. But the difference is that 2018 had a lot of care put into it as a continued storyline.
Yeah, that when he finds his
It was
mask in that scene, it was a very good like scene, and it was
yeah.
shot very well.
It was a good moment for fans of the character who really care about where the arc is going. And it's just it's a stark difference because I really do think that a lot of about Halloween 2018 was impressive, and they did a good job of like actually returning to the franchise and elevating what could be a continuation. Where this is just it's so shoehorned and thrown together, and nothing is given any coherence, and just so many things that it's trying to be, but like it really isn't because there's not enough time in the film or to flesh anything out. And overall, it's just it's boring. It's annoying. It's embarrassing. It's just a rough viewing overall. Just so stupid.
This isn't even like the first requel in this series, so it's just even more pointless.
Oh my god! I guess to give it something, it is better than the last time they did this with Texas Chainsaw 3D. So, but
yeah, that movie's pretty terrible from what I heard.
That movie is a failure in every sense of cinema. Literally,
came out in theaters, I think, because it did so bad.
Yeah,
I remember Leatherface was like a really weird movie because I think it was like direct TV. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Nobody has that.
Yeah, Leatherface was a really odd thing. I don't even remember like where I watched it on. It's a really weird movie that just like, randomly came out.
I don't know if it's still there, but I know they're bringing a bunch of the sequels to Netflix like next month because of this movie. So there's that to look forward to. Yeah, I think they're like having like. I know the Rob Zombie remakes are on Netflix now, which is annoying because that's the only Halloweens you can watch on Netflix are the Rob Zombie ones, and I think they're having like the Texas Chainsaw remake and like Texas Chainsaw 3D come on Netflix in a few weeks. I'm just like, what the fuck is Netflix doing? Put like the original like Nightmare on Elm Street like Halloween movies on here, like that'd be so much better.
Yeah,
but you know, to each their own. But with like this whole requel trend, I feel like movies like Halloween 2018 and like the Scream 2022 like did it so much better than this. And
like Candyman is another good example.
Candyman was like actually like that movie like that one surprised me. I
mean it definitely wasn't great, but like for what it was
with about as much like anticipation of this movie as I did Candyman, and I like Candyman much more.
For what it could be, it was a lot more impressive in like a lot of ways.
Yeah, like I'd rewatch Candyman again, and I feel like I'd find stuff that I didn't the first time, and like I'd be engaged in the story. And the only reason I'd watch this is just for mindless murder, and mainly just the bus scene. Which, if I want to watch that, I will just look it up. I mean, it is probably the best massacre scene in this franchise, from what I heard. It's like this movie probably has the biggest body count. Of the movies.
Probably, yeah, because of that moment. I mean,
even though the characters are kind of dumb because there's like 40 of them, they could just like either overpowered him or like open a window or like once he's attacking somebody, just like go to the side and just go at the already open door.
Yeah, so stupid.
Why would everybody take out their phone and film him? And why would you say he's gonna get canceled? He obviously doesn't have a Twitter account, so.
There's a guy with a fucking skin mask and a chainsaw. What the fuck are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it was kind of a dumb, funny line, but like it wasn't funny because like it made sense. It was funny because it was stupid, and
so stupid. I hated it, dude. Oh my gosh.
I don't know if it beats like "Do Your Thing," but
no, Jesus Christ.
I've seen that clip and it looks terrible.
Yeah, I
don't get it seems like a lot of these sequels and like the remakes have problems with this. They keep like trying to humanize Leatherface, and like I get that like he's like a product of his environment and like he's the whole nature versus nurture argument, but like what he does is unjustifiable no matter if he is like directly like responsible for it, and you can't just like make him like almost an anti-hero or like the hero of your story. Like I didn't love the characters in the first movie, but like I was rooting for them because of the situation. Like you can't just give me unlikable characters and just try to make Leatherface the good guy, because then the movie's just not enjoyable because everybody's just assholes.
It's just so annoying. I mean, the original film is so good because it's psychologically scary, and it has really thrilling moments. And it's not just a big guy slashing people with a chainsaw. Like you could tell that You could tell he's a tortured soul, and there's development there. And like with this movie, he's just a big angry guy with a chainsaw. It's like it completely defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah, it'd be like if for some reason they made like a sequel to The Shining, and they just made it about like a group of people just getting like executed like in terrible ways at the hotel and just for some reason bring back Jack Nicholson with no reason or no care, and just had nothing that the first movie had except like the location and like the general plot, but like it's nothing like that first movie. And
So stupid.
it's just, I don't know what the thought process was behind this movie, because the guy that like produced it was the guy that did like the Evil Dead remake and Don't Breathe, which those are generally liked horror movies. So I don't know how this bad of a script was like greenlit. And
it is an awful script.
Yeah, I mean, it was so bad that they pulled it from theaters and put it straight to Netflix, which I know part of that's probably because of the pandemic, but like horror movies are like we're doing really good right now, especially like slashers. So this movie probably would have done well if they put it out. I don't know, but they were that like disappointed with what they made. They just dumped it to Netflix, and I don't know how like this franchise could honestly recover from this, because I feel like the only thing they could do now is Netflix movies if they wanted, which is really sad to see like a franchise just go that was like this big tentpole like theatrical franchise just like be degraded to such a point that like there's like barely any redeemable films past the original that are worth even watching, and there's like 9 of these movies. So
yeah, there's 9 now. It's just, and the fact that they've done this twice, they've done a direct sequel to the original that retcons the others, and both times they were absolutely awful. They were complete failures that just degraded everything that was great about the original. It's just like, what's the point? I don't know
how it's this hard. I mean, I get that first movie was like lightning in a bottle type circumstances to make this great movie, but I feel like I feel like it shouldn't be this hard to just make a good Texas Chainsaw movie. At least one that's like, somewhat good. I don't know how it's this hard.
Really shouldn't be, but I don't know. I'm not a filmmaker. I don't know.
It's just a sign that this franchise really doesn't need to last. I mean, they already done remakes, and like people like the remake. I haven't seen it. I don't know how well it is as a remake.
The 2003 one?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's bad, but it's whatever.
Yeah,
I don't know why people love that movie so much. Like, it's just.
Yeah, I've genuinely heard people say they prefer the remake to the original.
That's ridiculous.
I've met people that said the Rob Zombie Halloween is like more of their type of horror movie than the original, which doesn't make sense. I've also met people that said that they like really did not like the original Halloween, but they really loved 2018, which doesn't make any sense because 2018 is such a direct follow-up to that movie. It doesn't make sense why you'd like that one but not the original. But besides that, and if you really did not like the original, you are not gonna like Halloween Kills at all. But
yeah, Halloween Kills. It's just
Halloween Kills is a weird movie. I enjoy it as like a fan, but as a movie, it is really lacking in like everything.
Severely. I still have to get my Blu-ray of that. I didn't get the Steelbook, which was very upsetting. Now it's like $120 on Amazon. So
yeah, I mean, there's an extended cut that's like 4 minutes long, and like it adds so much depth to the story. It doesn't.
Yeah, those full 4 minutes really adds a lot.
There's like one actually good scene that I don't know why they didn't include it, and it's like an extended part of the flashback scene, which was weird that they like cut a part of that out when it's only like 5 minutes of the movie.
What's the point?
Yeah, it's just like a scene where you see Michael like behind like bushes and like disappear like in the original movie, and like it was just kind of well done to like see that kind of recreated, and then they just like cut it out for some reason. That movie's also, I think it's almost wrapped filming, because I know Jamie Lee Curtis is done filming like for good.
Yeah, Jamie Lee has wrapped on filming, which is kind of surreal to think about. It's going to be crazy to think about this movie actually being released not too long from now in the grand scheme of things. So,
I mean, there's a lot to look forward to horror this year. This has just kind of been a dud movie. I don't
Yeah,
I don't really
I think that's
care if we get anything. Also, that they like make him supernatural in this one, kind of, because like he gets like chainsawed like up like the neck, like he should be dead, but he isn't.
yeah. It makes no sense that he just came back. Like he pulled like a Michael, just like didn't die, and then I was just back again
Because in that
for a
first movie, he
super
was
like,
never
terrible ending moment.
supernatural, and that's what made it more scary. Because like the story was like very realistic, and like he just like breaks people's bones and like does like these inhuman things. That, like he's like a hillbilly that's like 70 years old.
Literally everyone in this movie had unrealistic inhuman ability or durability. I mean,
They
like the
did.
freaking Dante character got freaking sliced and diced, and then he just got up and he got up just enough to walk out and be like, it's so stupid.
Well, yeah, and then that the mechanic guy got like his leg like pulverized, and he was still like running at Leatherface, like pushing him against the windows.
Yeah,
Like that one scene where like she was under the house and like he was like chasing the chainsaw was kind of. I mean, that was all right, I guess. I just didn't care for any of the characters, which I don't get why they think that's just like gonna make the movie better if you just don't like the characters. um, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this movie. I mean, if you want to watch it, you'll watch it. I mean, it's free on Netflix, so it's not like you'd be wasting your money if you watch it. But I think
yeah. I
I
mean,
give
I'm
it like
really
a
happy I didn't
one.
have to. I'm really happy I didn't have to pay to see it because, jeez.
Yeah, I give it like a 1 out of 5. I think that like alone is mostly just the kills and like the gore and the opening like a minute of the movie that I liked. Um, but yeah, this movie was like it was a pretty big train wreck that had a few glimmers of something like decent, but like it really, really did not do well. So
Yeah. I'll probably give it a 2 out of 10 because I have seen worse, and there are a couple things about it that aren't complete failure, but overall, it's severely lacking in so many areas.
also
It's not worth it as
they
a
do show
film,
Leatherface
as a
like
horror
unmasked at
experience.
one point. You see that? They like showed him unmasked. I don't know if that was like
Yeah, like very
necessary.
briefly. It kind of made me angry. I was like, why are you doing this? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Whatever. 2 out of 10, not worth it. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Uh, like so much worse than like the original and the original sequel. Oh my god!
Yeah, I haven't seen.
One of the best parts, honestly, was seeing Toby Hooper's name in like the beginning and end credits. That was cool because I like Toby Hooper.
Yeah, I haven't seen Texas Chainsaw 2. I don't know. I might watch it.
Wait, why
I'm not the
can't
biggest fan of like horror movies just becoming like comedies in the next movies. So I don't know if I'm like it. But yeah.
Yeah, very
Um.
happy. I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Just drop the and you have a sequel.
Yeah, they're running out of names for this series too. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the next one would even be called if they want to like just keep it the same like
Oh,
title format.
easy. It would be called Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, not Leatherface the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Don't get it confused. It's Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. No the and 2.
Oh yeah, they got that when they talked about the sequel, like possibilities. They just said the director was like, "Oh yeah, if we made like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, so they'll just be like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2."
Obvi-
Which would be so stupid to like have in a box set. Um, but do you want to move on to something much better?
Yes, still into something that I actually enjoy because Jesus, that movie left such a bad taste in my mouth. I'm gonna talk about a movie that I would love to revisit. Actually, we talked about Halloween a bit, and obviously John Carpenter is probably my favorite director of all time. And one of his projects that he really only did because he needed something at the time. He couldn't find much work, but he actually turned something, a pretty outlandish premise for a film, into something that was a lot more impressive than you'd expect. And that's 1983's Christine. So,
Yeah,
Matthew, what are your thoughts on
I got
Christine?
introduced to this movie by my parents, I believe. Something about this movie was just it kept me so engaged throughout. It was such a unique story. It was so well told, so well directed. I think I saw this before I saw Halloween, and so I think this might have been my first John Carpenter movie because I think my parents they introduced me to like his big three, which is this Halloween and The Thing.
Right.
I'm pretty sure. Wait, I think my dad introduced me to The Thing because that's one of his favorite movies. So
Well, at least that's something you got right. Finally.
yeah, I mean he likes the
Jeez.
prequel pretty like a lot. So
You know, when I compliment someone, you don't have to ruin it. Like,
also like an alcoholic, but that's besides the point.
okay, yeah. Well, all right. So we'll just move on.
But
We'll
I
pass
really love
that.
this movie. There's legitimately only one criticism I have, and is that like even when I first saw this, I was confused on like what type of school these guys were in because they all looked like in their mid to late 20s. But that's fine. I can forgive that. But they looked like
Yeah.
one of them. Some looked like they were in their 30s, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And like the teacher looked like around like the same ages, and they were, he was just like talking down to these kids, and I was like, "These guys look like the same age." Um, but I love this movie. It's not like perfect, but it really is odd to me to think that this is like the only time that anything Stephen King related and John Carpenter like ever happened because that's such like a good combination I would imagine, and this is like the only time it happened, which is kind of weird. I love the Kristen character, how she's like presented in this movie. And I especially love that scene where like she gets like destroyed and like she rebuilds herself. Like that scene's just that's such good filmmaking. I haven't watched this movie in years, but like I want to rewatch it again at some point this year. I think the steelbook also for this movie is fantastic.
That's true. Yeah, you got me that for Christmas, and it was an amazing gift. Thank you. And it's awesome. I love that steelbook.
Yeah, it's a very good steelbook. It's very cheap too. It's only like $10. This movie's kind of, I would say this movie is underrated. It's not talked about nearly enough as I think it should. And I guess we're getting a remake, which I'm not really excited about. But I think John Carpenter's somewhat involved with it, so I'll give it a chance when like something more comes out about it. But like I'm really not excited for it. I would have much preferred a sequel.
Yeah, I really don't know how to feel about that. So I mean, I guess we'll see. Um, but yeah, I don't know about getting a remake. It's just kind of like, what's the
Because I
point
think I
of doing
remember
that?
they wanted to do a sequel after the first movie. I don't know why it never happened, but I thought there was talks of
Yeah.
it. I don't remember.
Oh, jeez. See, what's the thing about like trying to continue it or trying to redo it is that like this film should not have worked. Like nothing about Christine really should have worked as a motion picture, but you know the John Carpenter hiring and a lot of like the care that was put into it actually did make it work. I mean, obviously it's not perfect; it has its issues, but like it really did succeed in being a lot better than you would expect from like an '80s horror film about a killer car. Like even just saying that is like really, but like it actually what is like it's like shockingly better than most people would expect.
Yeah, I mean, have you read the book? I've never read the whole book.
Yeah,
Is this
I
better?
actually don't know if I ever finished it, but I definitely read like the first half or like, at least a couple times. I don't know if I ever really fully got through it though. Stephen King books are kind of weird, but
Yeah,
that
because I
is
don't know the general consensus if this like is like the movie is considered better than the book and whatnot. But um, yeah, I don't know. I think this was like a pretty good adaptation. Every single scene I enjoy. It feels purposeful. It feels like it's necessary for the plot. The characters, the main three, which was like the guy that has the car. I don't remember what his name was. Was it Sean? No, I don't remember. I might look up the cast list because that's gonna annoy me. But
uh which character are you trying to remember right now?
the Arnie, that's his name, Arnie.
Arnie.
Yeah,
Yeah, the guy with the main guy. Yeah, Arnie.
and then his friend Dennis, and then like the main
That is
girl Lee. Those three were actually pretty good. I liked all of them. I liked their dynamic and how it kept like shifting throughout the movie. Um, And like Arnie's slow descent to madness was very well like acted, and I think it was very well portrayed. And
Yeah, it was really well done, and I love the development of it because like throughout the film, you're trying to see like what the angle they took with it. If it's Arnie going crazy or if the car itself is actually alive, like what's the actual direction they're going with? Because they kind of leave it ambiguous for a while, and I actually really like how they handled it. It was always really interesting to me. I know that for sure.
yeah, it was for me as well. And even by the end, like I felt sorry for him. Like the whole final act with like destroying the car. Like I guess it was a bit anticlimactic because it really is just like a bulldozer hitting a car. Like you can't do that much with the car as a villain. But I don't know what the final battle was in the book. I'm assuming it was probably fucking weird and like had a lot of drugs involved. But
Probably.
yeah, and even just the lore they had in this book about the previous owner's car, like the previous owner of the car, and was also very engaging. Like I feel like they could have just made a whole prequel story about the previous owner of the car and like his slow descent into madness with having like a family. And that could have also been a very good like continuation of the story. Just like everything about this story, just it feels very like fleshed out, and because it's a Stephen King story, so that's like what it's gonna be fleshed out from the beginning, and just with John Carpenter's just beautiful direction and like storytelling, it just makes it all the more like enjoyable and digestible for everybody. And um, absolutely, I love this car. Like this, I think it's the is it Plymouth like 5030 something like that.
Yeah, it's like a 53, I believe. I
Like I
think
love
that's
yeah
right.
yeah like I love this car because of this movie. Um,
Yeah, when I was younger, that became that and like a few others, like the DeLorean from Back to the Future and like the car from Christine. There's always like, oh, that'd be like a great car to have
yeah,
because
I like I really would have
and
loved to have this car. It looked they made this car so like
basically when I was younger, everything I wanted would have to have been stuff that was like in a movie because that's just kind of how my brain worked.
yeah
Just like,
I wanted like Godzilla as a pet of course, but
I'll take Gamera personally.
yeah, Gamera was a classic.
I
But
mean, it
also that's
it's very enjoyable. It's entertaining all the way through. Absolutely. It's a fun horror experience.
there's some quite tense scenes as well because that scene where Christine's on fire and like destroys that gas station, like chases that guy down was like actually really intense. And that one scene where she like crushes through the alleyway to like kill that fat kid, that was so intense. And it
Yeah.
was literally just a car. So um, I don't know, they just did it really well. And that one scene um, where Christine kills, I think it was the guy that owned the garage that was like an asshole. Uh, who for some reason sees like a car burned to a crisp. And he's like, let me just like sit down on this for a minute. That never made sense to me. But
It's very stupid.
and they just like gets like crushed to death. It's just like they really utilize like every aspect that they could with this storyline. And if in this remake, I'm assuming they're gonna use a different car, but I'm gonna be very upset if they do because I really like this car. So
Yeah, it really wouldn't work the same, especially
it's
if they
not.
are trying to do a remake, it would have to be like it would have to pull a lot of inspiration from how the original was done, just because it's so outlandish and off the wall, like such an offbeat like type of horror movie that like they would have to replicate some in order to find success for sure.
And from what I heard, it sounded like they were almost going to do like a smart car Tesla situation of the remake, which would immediately give that movie like a 1 out of 5. But
Oh, that's not good.
yeah, and um, what I also love about this movie is similar to how John Carpenter did The Thing and Halloween, is that he doesn't over-explain anything because in this movie we see like Christine being made, but we don't ever find out why she is possessed or if she's possessed, or like what is up with this car. Like we never figure it out, and the characters never actively try to figure it out because like the main thing is to just like get Arnie away from this car. And um, it's similar to Halloween. He doesn't explain Michael Myers or The Thing, where it's just like it's an alien. That's all you need to know. And I'm assuming I'm sure in the book there's like just incessant nonstop fucking information about why this car's possessed and why it's possessed and what is in it. But I really love in this movie that it isn't overly explained. It's explained enough that the story works. So that's another part
Yeah,
that
it lives with itself, and it accepts what it is, and I think it just does everything right with that. Um, it's really fun. It has some good moments that can actually be genuinely kind of scary. Uh, and overall, it's just it's a good time. I love the direction. A lot of the visual style to it is just nice for like a weird '80s horror movie. Um, Pretty much everybody in it, they give their all with their performances, and it's a killer car, man. You know, like
John Carpenter had some
this could have
packed
made me scared of
years.
cars when I was a kid. Like it didn't quite get to me, but I can believe if it did with somebody because it really is like that.
Yeah, John Carpenter had some really packed years in like the beginning of the '80s because he did like the original Halloween, and then like he like helped with like Halloween 2 and 3, which were like '81 and like '82, and then he did the Thing in '82, and then he did this in '83. So I don't know how he filmed all of these. He like made all of them pretty
Yeah.
much great. So
He
props
made a
to
lot of
him.
great movies like all together. He had to make that all work in like a pretty short span of time.
Yeah, I don't know what made him to sign on with this movie. I'm kind of interested in that backstory. I'm assuming there's countless interviews and stuff. This movie's also kind of special to me because like after I saw this movie, I ended up writing a letter to John Carpenter, and he sent me back his autograph, which was very cool.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know you know that. Dude, it's fine. We'll take you to a convention before he like dies, and then we'll get you his autograph.
Well, I know he really wants to do a sequel to the thing, so
I saw some article about that. I didn't read it, but like it was about John Carpenter talking about the Thing
yeah,
too.
I guess that's like his movie. Like out of all the movies he made, that's the one he most would want to revisit. But only if he was heavily involved, and the older he gets, the less likely it is. So it's a little that's
Well, I thought they like announced a remake again, so I don't know.
remake, more like remake.
Yeah, I don't know if they just did like a thing, like a new Thing movie, but like they didn't like say if it was like in the same like timeline or if it was like new again, and like what would it be called? Just the Thing again. So there's the Thing, and then the Thing, and then the Thing.
And then the thing from another world.
Here's
The
the
thing from another
Thing.
world, followed by the thing, followed by the thing, followed by the thing.
Yeah. There was something I was gonna say earlier. Yeah, Stephen King has some very wonky movies, and like when they're adapted right to film, they work really well. Like this worked really well. The Shining worked really well because they were like different enough from the book. That's where like I think like the newer It movies, like I really enjoyed them, but like some of like the incessant like amount of stuff they add from the books gets a little heavy handed. Because I feel like something like even Pennywise would have been so much better on screen if he was like a little less explained and it was more like
Yeah,
abstract and up to your like imagination than just say like, oh yeah, he's like an evil alien from this one rock that if he uses this one thing then he gets destroyed, but then if you just like bully him a little bit he'll just die. Uh, that movie
true.
had such an anticlimactic like last 10 minutes. Oh yeah, if we just call him like stupid and he has like a big forehead and like he's ugly and that he's stupid and that he's not scary, we'll just like kill him and like eliminate the last 27 years of trauma that we've all collectively experienced.
Absolutely.
Let's go. um, but I don't know if I've ever read. I don't think I've read this movie on Letterboxd actually. I need to check that.
You have. You gave it 3 stars.
Yeah, I would say it's about 3. Honestly I need to rewatch it. Like I don't know why I haven't rewatched it. It's been like years. This is like a movie I would like to watch every few years at least.
Yeah, I
Um,
haven't seen it for a while, but it's one of my childhood favorites. I usually settling it on giving it a 6 out of 10, but like honestly, I should probably revisit it because it might be a 7 because like it's a lot more impressive than you would expect it to be, and that's just what I like
yeah, there's
most
even that.
because
There's even that one scene that really like doesn't involve the car. It involves like Arnie with his parents. And, like he gets like aggressive of his parents, and like it was like it was a pretty well executed scene. Like even the scenes without like the car and the main plot were just like characters or like moments were enjoyable. I think there was one scene where the jock was like flirting with a girl in like the library, and like it has no bearing on the actual plot. It's just like character moments, and like even those were like really enjoyable. And this movie isn't like perfect, but like it's genuinely like it's probably the best version of the story we would ever get. I would imagine. So I enjoyed
Until the
it.
remake comes out, right? Obviously.
Well, Blumhouse is producing it, so it's obviously going to be amazing because they made like Halloween good once, and there's like we could just remake everything. John Carpenter. Uh, I think I might just from talking about it again. I might bump this up just a half star.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in that same boat because I have so many fond memories of it. It's just, it really is like very successful with
Also, the soundtrack.
what it really could have been.
The soundtrack was good from what I remember. I don't remember everything, but I remember that was also good.
Yeah, John Carpenter composed, so obviously the score was great. That's just John Carpenter compositions and good
All the
that just go together. You
posters,
know what I mean?
all the posters are great too. I love the imagery they have in this movie. Um,
Yeah, they do a great job of like showcasing the car in ways that are actually like, this is the antagonist,
there
the car,
was
but like
now
it
that
actually
I'm
just works.
now that I'm thinking about it, there was one weird kind of side plot that kind of went nowhere. Um, it was with the guy that played. He was from Alien. He played the guy that died first, I think, or the second guy. Um,
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
I know. I think I don't remember his name. What was his name?
Um, the actor or the character?
The actor from Alien. I don't. Uh, it was like he had like three names. I'm looking at now because he died a few years ago, and I was like really sad. Harry Dean Stanton. Okay.
I was gonna say, is it? I think it's Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah, his whole little side plot with like questioning the main character and like having like an investigation against him, like it really went nowhere, and he just kind of showed up at the end, and I was like, okay. Um, and the ending was very good. It ends off on like a very good note. They have like a lot of classic rock in this too. That was pretty good. So
Very much so encouraged.
they
Good
left this
stuff.
open very cliffhangery. So I don't. Obviously, a sequel never happened, but I guess the thing and like the original Halloween also kind of left off on like a cliffhanger, like a ambiguous note. So, um, I think it's just kind of a staple of John Carpenter. So, really enjoy this. Absolutely recommend. Um,
Oh yeah, definitely. To horror fans out there, I really enjoy it quite a bit. Uh, One of my favorites, John Carpenter, pretty much always delivers. So at least like in like his golden era. Um,
yeah.
no,
When
it's
was the
not as
last
impressive as
time?
like Halloween or The Thing, but still just a really good weird horror movie. I really enjoy it.
Yeah. What was the last thing John Carpenter actually directed?
The Ward was his last film.
When did that come out?
Let's see, when did that come out?
Was it good?
Um, I haven't seen it in a very long time, if at all. I haven't seen that. The Ward. It's from 2010. Yeah. I gave it a 3 out of 10. It's a weird. It's about a like a woman who like she gets institutionalized. She gets like put in an institution and because she's terrorized by like a ghost of like a family member or something like that. And it's not very impressive for John Carpenter, but it came out in 2010, and like he was already really old and past his prime at that point. So
Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure he's done directing for good. So, um,
yeah, he's a lot of people assume that he's just kind of unofficially retired because he isn't technically retired officially, but it's just like yeah.
yeah, it's kind of weird to think about because Halloween Ends might be one of like his last like movies that he's gonna compose. I don't know. So
It's weird to think about. It kind of makes me sad, so I don't think about it.
yeah, unless we get like another Thing movie or like another Christine, which I think he would like compose those if they asked him. But yeah, aren't they also remaking Big Trouble in Little China?
Probably.
I remember
They
they
remake
said a
it.
while ago they were gonna make like a Rock remake, which sounded really dumb. I haven't seen that movie. I should probably watch that. But
Remake which movie?
Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yeah, I thought you mentioned something else, but yeah, that's which that's another one that I kind of enjoy. He's a man, there's so many John Carpenter movies that I love. The more that I think about it,
Well, they need to escape from New York, right? Yeah.
yeah, Escape from New York,
Which I think that
and Escape from
I
New York,
remember they said
obviously.
Robert Rodriguez was gonna remake that, which would be stupid. But
He's very stupid. He did They Live, which is really good. Love They Live. The
even like
Fog. Love that
Assault on
movie.
Precinct 13, another good one.
Yep, that one's pretty good. Even like Starman and Dark Star, like his older like obscure ones are just enjoyable.
Yeah, there's a lot of good hits. Obviously, Halloween and like The Thing are like his most well-known pieces. Um, but yeah, I give this like a 3.5 out of 5. Recommend. Um, it's a lot of fun, especially since it's like almost 40 years old. Fuck.
Yeah, 40 next year.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Dude, what if we get a sequel and like they're just talking about the car that like 40 years ago I drove that?
Yeah, I mean, 40 years ago.
Jesus
I can't
Christ.
wait for
When
the
they said in
I
the
can't wait.
new
I can't wait for this. I can't wait for the sequel, Christina.
and that New Texas Chainsaw when they would say like 50 years ago, like every single time they said that, I like wanted to like I like wanted them to shut up. Uh, Jesus.
True. But yeah, I recommend Christine 1983, 7 out of 10.
No, I'm wondering in the
John
next like
Carpenter classic.
10, 15 years if they try to make more requels, or there's gonna be like 60 years ago this guy killed 5 people. He needs to die.
16 years ago. Be really funny if it's just like 22 years and 7 months ago, this guy killed one person, then killed another person 2 months later, then captivated another. He must die. Evil dies tonight.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, I mean, that's about all. Next week we're
Nope.
covering Batman, I believe. The franchise, not the new one.
Well, yeah, we'll cover the franchise next Wednesday. Then the new film comes out next Friday. Official
Which
release. So
we probably will just talk about just all Batman next week. So I don't know if we'll have enough time to like also cover another movie.
no, I assume it will just be Batman because there's a lot of movies to cover. So look forward to that. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and let us know what you'd like us to discuss in the future. Matthew, what do you have to say?
You don't subscribe, you're canceled, bro.
Good input. Enjoyable.
Absolutely. If you don't like and subscribe, I will like severely not do anything. So
Severely.
yeah. All right. Bye bye.